When you're new to Sea of Thieves, the game can seem very overwhelming. So this video is going to be a guide for new players or returning players because a lot has changed in the game's almost 7 years since release. Even if you're not as new and you have like 50 plus hours in the game, I'm sure there's still something you're going to get out of this video. By the end of the video, you'll know how to make gold and level up, some goals you can work towards as a new player, a range of tips that will benefit any player regardless of skill level, and much more. So first, let's just get a quick overview of what the game is and what it has to offer in 2025. Sea of Thieves is an open world PvPvE game, which you can pretty much do whatever you want in. Some of what the game has to offer is Tall Tales, which kind of act as the game's campaign mode, which focus on the game's story and discovering the lore of the game. The game has interesting quests like finding gold vaults and taking out ghost fleets. There are world events, which the server comes together to fight over or work together and take out. There's a PvP mode, Hourglass, where you can verse other players. Cool cosmetics that can be a grind, but then they have more value. Best part of the game, in my opinion, is the funny player interactions you find along the way.
See you later. Have a nice day.
You too, man.
So let's say it's your first day in Sea of Thieves. What should you do? I think when you first log in, play the Maiden Voyage. The game should recommend this to you on default, but make sure you play it all the way through. And this is going to help you understand the game's basic mechanics. After you complete this, I'd then start your session just doing some basic quests on the quest table. Stuff like the riddles and the map digs are just going to give you a small taste while not being too overwhelming. And another key decision when you start up the game is your decision if you want to play Safe Seas, which is Sea of Thieves in a solo world, eliminating the threat of PvP, or High Seas, which is going to put you in a world shared by other players. Now, my advice for this is when you start off, definitely start in Safe Seas, as you're not going to understand anything about the game. If someone was to run up on you, you're not going to be able to defend yourself, and you're probably not going to enjoy the game very much. I'd use Safe Seas as more of a practice for the real game though, and I wouldn't spend too much time here after you start leveling up a lot. Done about 10 hours or so into the game, I'd try and move away from this. This is because, yes, while it's easier to make gold in Safe Seas because no one's going to try and steal your loot, it can get incredibly boring doing the same mission structures of just sailing around killing skeletons without the risk of real players to make the game feel more intense. Best part of the game and what keeps it interesting all these years later is the player interaction. So once you've played about 10 hours of the game and think you start to know what you're doing a bit better, definitely move into High Seas, as you are going to be able to get more gold with the emissary flags I'm about to cover in a minute, which are currently unavailable in Safe Seas due to it being a more tutorial-like mode. And being scared of being attacked is what makes the game fun. Making gold in Sea of Thieves is basically every player's goal. When you look at Sea of Thieves at its most basic level, the game is to make gold. So how can you do this as a new player? When you first begin, this can be stuff like just doing quests on the quest table. They can get you started, or mini events such as the sea forts here, skeleton camps, or shrines. I'll explain more about making gold later in the video, but these are just a few options while you're still getting a feel of the game to just improve your game knowledge and overall experience. But I'll show you some real gold methods at the end of the video. Along with making gold, companies also play a large part in Sea of Thieves. There are currently 6 main trading companies: Gold Hoarders, Order of Souls, Merchants, Reapers, Athena, and the Hunter's Call. All of these companies have their own loot types. For example, the Gold Hoarder taking chests, Order of Souls taking skulls, which are then sold to them, which will give you reputation levels. Reputation levels are basically your career progress in the game. Everything you're selling is leveling up one of these companies, which leveling up can unlock special items you can buy. Once you reach level 100 within a reputation, you will unlock a distinction, which will then reset your level back, and the company will then say distinction 1 under it. This is an improvement on the last system, which used to cap your reputation levels at level 75. Now you can keep going beyond that and go all the way up to distinction 5, which is basically equivalent to level 500. An important part about companies is also the emissaries. If you're planning to go and do some Gold Hoarder quests, it's very important you raise up a Gold Hoarder emissary flag found next to him on every outpost. Emissaries basically act as a multiplier on loot. The more loot you find for a company's emissary, the more our flag is going to level up down the bottom left, and for every flag level 1 to 5 will give us a higher bonus on the loot we sell, maxing out at 2.5 times multiplier when you get a level 5 flag, meaning on all the loot you sell for that trading company, you're going to receive a 2.5 bonus on for gold and reputation. So if you're doing quests without an emissary flag, you're just wasting time. Every company has an emissary. You do have to be level 15 in that trading company's reputation. However, this won't take much time at all, so just be sure as soon as you hit this, you just buy the emissary flag from their shop. And finally, with trading companies, there are something called ledgers, which is basically a global leaderboard showing every player's gold earned for a trading company. And if you reach a certain amount of gold earned in a month under a trading company, you can unlock specific awards shown here in the menu. So depending on how much gold you earn depends what item you get. These reset once a month, so check them every now and then to see where you're up to, so you can see which companies you need to grind if you like the look of any of the cosmetics. Alright, so let's move on to some goals you can set yourself if you're a new player. Your first should be to buy a boat. The sloop costs 250,000, the brig costs 375,000, and the galleon costs 500,000 gold. So if you're new, I'm assuming you're going to want to buy a sloop, so this should be your first goal when you start playing. This is going to give you stuff like you're going to be able to sell your loot to the sovereigns now, which is still going to give you an emissary bonus, but you're going to be able to sell all of your loot for one person compared to running around the outpost. Your next goal should be to hit Pirate Legend, which is a status which is unlocked when you reach level 50 in 3 of the trading companies I said earlier. Another goal can be unlocking rare curses. For example, example, the coral curse, the gold curse, or an hourglass curse, like the skeleton or the goat, which I'm going to explain to you how to get later on in the video. And your last goal can be to hit your first million gold. And I'll show a way at the end you can earn some crazy gold. Alright, so let's move on to some tips which are going to help a range of players, especially if you're new to the game. Let's start off with managing your boat. Learning to manage your sails and wind is a very basic but essential part of Sea of Thieves. When you're in a fight with someone or you're wanting to turn your boat fast, it's very important you raise your sail to half or more. This sounds obvious, but the amount of players that don't know this when I'm in a fight with other people is crazy. People just have their sail all the way down, and it makes them have a far more difficult time when trying to shoot cannons. So if you're in a fight or you need to turn easily, just raise it to half. The next is wind. It used to be best to just have your wind facing forward if you didn't have wind. Now, just turn your sail so it can get the most wind possible. The next is anchoring. You're not really going to want to anchor your boat as much as you probably are as a new player. A lot of people think if you arrive at an island, just drop your anchor and leave it there and you're fine. However, anchoring should really only be for a break or an anchor turn, because if you stop at an island and you want to use the anchor, just use it as a break, drop the anchor, raise your sail so your boat won't move, then raise the anchor back up again. This is so you're not trapped. If an enemy was to come over and start shooting you, you wouldn't have to then raise your anchor again, allowing you to just drop your sail and straight away start moving. It only takes a second, but trust me, it saved me a lot of times. The next, if you have more than one player on your crew, you need to make sure you guys are dividing your jobs well. Have someone on wheel the whole time, have someone doing wind, and someone on cannons. Stuff like this is going to make fights way more simple, as everyone's going to understand what they need to do, and it's not just going to be a mess. So try and assign everyone their own role. Someone to keep an eye on water, someone to be shooting, someone to adjust wind. It's going to, trust me, it sounds obvious, but you need to make sure every player knows exactly what their responsibility as part of the crew is if you want to do well in PvP, or just playing the game in general. Alright, next up we have food. The stats for food are bananas give you 20% of your health back, coconuts are going to give you 30% of your health back, pomegranates are going to give 40%, mangoes are going to give 50, and pineapples are going to heal you all the way back to 100. Meat is going to give 50, but also give you 25 regen health. So remember all of these stats next time you're in a fight or you want to know what to carry. And make sure you buy your food from the merchant, as if you go to their shop, you can buy a food crate which contains good food in it. And make sure you check all the barrels on outposts, as they can contain pineapples, mangoes, and whatever else. Also, if you need better food, sea forts are always going to be your best friend, as they contain crazy good food. Like, you can get up to like 10 pineapples or more. So definitely check out sea forts if you're planning on doing PvP or just need more supplies. Alright, and these are some focused PvP tips. First up is your weapon choice. If you're new, I recommend you take the sword. The sword is just very simple and easy to understand. You just click and it's going to swing. You can honestly play the game just with this one weapon. It's so overpowered. It does 25% of their health for every hit. So you can take them out in 4 hits. It does have a slight delay after the 3rd hit, but you're not even going to notice it. So if you're new, I'd take sword and then possibly sniper, as these have some decent range. So if you're needing to fight someone from a further distance, you can have this, compared to just taking the blunder and sword, because then you're only going to be stuck to close range. However, every playstyle is different, so make sure you try out all the weapons to see if there's something that suits you best. These are just my personal recommendations. Best food to take is definitely, you want to have at least 2 or 3 pineapples, and then the rest just have mangoes. This is so if you take a little bit of damage, like if you get hit for 40 damage, if you just have 5 pineapples, you're going to be wasting a pineapple. This way, when we take less than 50 damage, we can just eat the mango, knowing that we're getting the most out of our supplies. In fights, make sure you eat after taking damage. Even if it's just you get hit for like 30% of your health, you need to make sure every time your health goes down, you're eating straight away. Eventually, this is just going to become muscle memory to eat, but don't go for the next shot after you get hit. As soon as you get hit once, your priority is eating and dodging. These are just a few tips to get you started. So I've got a video coming that's going to go in depth about a range of tips, which will benefit all players, regardless of skill. So make sure you subscribe if you don't want to miss out on that. I briefly touched on some ways to make gold earlier in the video. However, if you want to fully know the top 5 best ways to make gold, then click this video here, as this video is going to be your best friend for getting rich.